Hey, it's Jess. So, today I wanted to share the beginning of my story. Um, Before chemo, before radiation, the beginning, when I found out, how I found out, how those initial appointments went, how I felt, how we were supported, how I shared, who I shared with, all of those kinds of things. Um, I have this little notebook, super tiny, just about the size of my hand, that I have kept all of my appointments in. It has helped. If anyone asks, well, when did you have radiation? When did you have this done? I can go back and I can refer to this little notebook. I'll explain more on this at another time. But this is what I might refer to this to help me with dates and things like that. But let me start with uh, the end of July 2020, last year. I was laying in bed. My arm was up above my head, and my side was sore. So I kind of reached over and and I felt the lump. And it was like, ah. So I felt, and I looked up if you can have lymph nodes there and things like that. I'm like, okay, I think this is a lymph node. It's not really like in my breast, where I assume that if you have breast cancer, you're going to find a lump in your breast. It's kind of off to the side. Does that count? I wasn't really sure. I knew within the week that we were going to be going camping with some of my girlfriends and their families. These are girls who I went to high school with, I'm really close with. So I thought, you know what? When we go camping, I'll have them feel it. And because that's what close girlfriends do, right? They feel your side boob, right? um, but I that was what I did. We went camping and I said, okay, you guys, this is what's happening. This is what I felt. This is what I found. What do you think? So they felt the spot and they said, you're right. It is kind of in a different spot. It's off to the side. It's not where you would think of a lump being if it was breast cancer. Uh, but they said, you need to go get it checked out. They said, 100% go get it checked out. So while we were still camping, we were camping from a Wednesday to a Sunday. I talked with them about that on Thursday, and I went ahead and Friday, I called back home to our doctor's office. I explained to them what was going on, and they were going to get me in on Monday, which was going to be Monday, August 3rd. Um, so we enjoyed the rest of our weekend. I went into the doctor that Monday, and he said, you know, he said, I think it's just an infection, a swollen lymph node. He said, but so I'm going to give you an antibiotic that I want you to take. He said, however, I also want you to get in for a mammogram and an ultrasound. He's like, I'm not going to mess around with this. I'm not going to assume that is, um, uh, it is an infection. Um, but we'll go that direction. So a week later, it was a Monday the 10th, our first teacher work day. If I haven't already mentioned, I was a fourth grade teacher. So we were getting ready to start what was already going to be a crazy school year with COVID and um, in person, virtual, all that kind of stuff. Um, we had one teacher who was going to be teaching the fourth and fifth grade virtual students. And then we had four in-person fourth grade teachers and four in-person fifth grade teachers. Um, and I'm one of the fourth grade teachers. So I had to go to my principal and my other teachers, my coworkers right away, and I had to kind of tell them what was going on. We're back to school after not having been in school for a long time because we were out because of COVID in March. Um, and then here I am, the first teacher day back, and I'm taking time off. So I had to kind of let them know what was going on. So I told them, I said, hey, this is what happened. I'm going to get a mammogram and an ultrasound. I'm going to need to sneak out for part of the afternoon for a couple hours. Um, so that was what I did. Um, I snuck out. I went to the mammogram and the ultrasound, and it, I mean, I had to go by myself. It's COVID times, so um, people can't go with you to stuff like that. So I went in for my mammogram. I was 37. I had never had a mammogram before. So I put on the cape. If you've never had a mammogram, uh, most of the time when you go into a hospital room, the gown's open in the back. The cape, I mean, that's what it is. It's a cape. It opens in the front. So we did the mammogram. The tech went out to show the one of the doctors, and I sat there and I just prayed. And super simple. And I said, Lord, let your will be done. That was it. Good, bad, let your will be done. So she came in and she said, okay, we're going to go next door and get and do the ultrasound. So we went next door, and she said, okay, she goes, we're going to check, uh, your lymph node off to the side. She said, but there was a concerning spot in your breast that we're going to check too. What? That was not what I was expecting. So she could tell by the look on my face that I did not know that they had found that, which it was fine. Someone should have told it. I was going to find out anyways. It didn't matter. So I said, okay. So they did the ultrasound. They looked at a couple spots. Um, then doctor came in, looked at those images. He looked himself, and he said that there is a very concerning spot in my breast as well. Um, and they wanted to do a biopsy right away. So we talked about what that meant, what that looked like, and we set up a biopsy for the breast and the lymph node for the next day, so August 11th. I remember leaving thinking, Lord, that wasn't the will that I meant. Maybe I should have prayed something different. Maybe I shouldn't have prayed, let your will be done. I don't like this will. This is not what I was planning. This is not what I wanted. We went with it. I went back to school. I had to tell them I'll have to leave again tomorrow for another appointment because they saw some very concerning spots. So again, just my team and my principal knew that this was going on. Along with my husband, I told my parents because I knew I didn't want to worry too many people, but I also didn't want to find out that I had cancer and then tell my parents and then be like, why didn't you even tell me that you were going through this? So I told them, hey, I'm having these things done. Uh, my sisters knew in our small group from church, so they could be praying. So we didn't let a ton of people know, but we let the people who are closest to us in our lives know so they could be praying for us, praying for the situation, praying for the results. So I went back the next day for the biopsy. It wasn't bad. It was quick, kind of easy. I was a little sore. Um, but then it was so weird how I was starting to become kind of sore. Um, so we had people praying. That uh, Thursday, August 13th, I got a call from my family doctor, the one who had referred me to get the ultrasound and mammogram. And he said the words, "You have cancer." I was home by myself with my girls. My husband wasn't home from work yet, and I didn't know what to do. Um, I asked some questions. He said he was going to refer me to an oncologist, uh, and I just wanted to cry, but I couldn't. Um, my girls were there. They didn't know any of this was going on. They didn't know that I was getting testing done. They didn't know that they didn't know any of that. Um, so I went out to my van and tried calling my husband. Uh, he works in a factory where he doesn't have good reception, and two, if I call, you can't really get through. It's not like he works in an office and I can just call and say, "Hey, transfer me to Jason." So I had to call the office, and then they had to try to get a hold of his group leader, and they had to try to get a hold of, like, all these people were trying to get a hold of him, and they were asking me, isn't a family emergency? And I was trying not to sob. um, I finally got a hold of him, and I just told him, I said, "I need you to come home now." Uh, and he said, "Okay." So he headed home. I immediately called my mom, and I didn't even I didn't even talk. I didn't even say anything. Um, I just uh, she answered, and there was just a long pause, um, and and then she's like, "Jay, are you okay?" And I just started sobbing uncontrollably, like the the you can't breathe crying. Um, and she just told me, she 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 said, "Have you talked to Jason?" And I said, "I just got a hold of him." And she said, "Okay, I'm on my way." Um, and that was it. And then I just sat in my car and cried until um, Jason and my mom got to the house. Um, from there, we went, my mom came into the house to kind of be with the girls a little bit. Um, I sent out a message to our small group, and our close friends who knew, letting them know what was going on. Um, I went into the school. I told my principal and the other teachers. So we decided to um, we needed to tell the girls. Um, our small group asked if they could come over and pray with us, and they asked uh, if a couple others from the church could come to. The Our youth director and children's director, and our girls, like small group leaders at church, somebody to be there for the girls, our pastor and his wife. Uh, they all they all came together. We came home, uh, and we had a friend who said, "We'll bring over pizza." Because I hadn't thought about dinner yet. We didn't have anything ready for dinner. somebody said, we'll bring pizza when we come over. So we sat down with the girls a little before 5 o'clock. Everybody, I think, was going to get here at 5. We sat down with the girls and we told them. We said, this is what happened. Mommy has cancer. And they took it okay, but they've also had close family members who have passed away from cancer. My husband's brother died of cancer. His grandma, who lives across the street, died of cancer. We've had cancer in the family, so they know what cancer can do, and so that's a little scary. But we wanted to be honest with them, so we told them, and soon after we told them, people were starting to show up at our house to pray with us, and just talk to us and be there with us for the evening. And so the girls didn't have much time to then sit and think about it too much before people started coming and talking and just being. So we all sat around and talked for a little bit. The girls had some pizza, and then we had people pray for us, pray for our family, pray for me, pray for the girls. And there were tears and by me and my husband and the others and the girls, and it was, my mom and dad were there. My dad came out, and it was good to have that support, and we had that support immediately. It wasn't something that, oh, let's wait to tell people. We told people, and they were there for us right away. What can we do? How can we help? And right then, we didn't know. We didn't know what we needed. We just knew we needed prayers. And that was what they did. So we had those prayers. The next day, I was back at school. We were working through getting things ready. And my team is amazing. And there were going to be four of us in person. And there was one teacher who was going to be teaching 4th and 5th grade virtual. Well, they had decided that they were going to absorb my class. So they took 4 classes and put them into 3 classrooms. So that made their class sizes go up quite a bit. And then I took the 4th grade virtual from the teacher who was teaching both 4th and 5th grade. Although they were requiring all teachers to go into the school, I was allowed to stay at home. I was allowed to be more flexible so I could go to appointments, so that I could, it would just be a little bit easier. The first few weeks I worked from the school. My first appointment was August 19th, which was actually the first day of school. So the first day of school, I already had to work things out to where my students, I could get them their information, but yet I could still make it to my first oncologist appointment. My mom went with me to that appointment, but because of COVID, she had to sit out in the car. She couldn't come with me. So she sat out in the car. When I got inside, we turned on speakerphone and she took notes. I tried to absorb as much information as I could, but my brain was going a million miles a minute, and it was nice to have an extra set of ears. And that is definitely something I would recommend, an extra set of ears. Even if they can't come in with you, being on a speaker call was such a help. The doctors talked to me about lumpectomy versus mastectomy versus like all of my options. Um, they did want to do a PET scan. They wanted to make sure that it had not spread anywhere else. Um, so the 27th of August, I was when we scheduled my PET scan. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end my beginning uh, right here. Um, and then next time I'll pick up with that PET scan and those feelings and what that meant. Uh, but so far, that's it. That's my journey. That was how we started. That was how we heard of just the term cancer and how that began to change and evolve our lives. Um, I have a little notebook here that just a journal that I jot things down in. And I also jot down different Bible verses that people have shared with me. And one that I'll share with you before I leave, it's Romans 15:13. I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace because you trust in Him. Then you will overflow with confident hope through the power of the Holy Spirit. I love that He is the source of hope and will fill you completely with joy and peace because you trust in Him. Trust in Him. Um, as I mentioned in that mammogram, I prayed, Lord, let your will be done. And that was hard then to be like, okay, this isn't the will that I wanted, but I've got to trust you. I've got to trust that you've got a plan. So, thanks for listening. I hope you guys tune in next time for the next part of my journey, that first PET scan. Have a great day.